There's an Indian master and teacher, I love his teachings, Punjaji, and he teaches that love is always loving you. That the activity of love, there's this field of love that's always loving you. Love is always loving you. It's like the ocean is always loving and cradling the waves. Love is not separate than you, but love is loving the arising we call ourselves. Love is always loving you. So during his 10 years, the basic question that Henry Nouwen asks himself and asks us really is, can we open to that trust that there is love here? Can we open enough so that we can start listening to its call and letting it come in, letting it wash through, so we can discover our belonging? Can we let ourselves feel loved? That's just right at the center of his inquiry. Can we let it in? So we'll explore how this journey is unfolding in our own lives. And first, how we leave home. And I liked the two brothers, the younger and the older, because it goes very well with the Buddhist teachings of one way we leave home is by clinging and grasping. There's something missing and we need something more. And that's the younger brother. And then the other way we leave home is aversion, pushing away, judging. So it lines up nicely. So we look at the younger son, and leaving home, that's the part of us that's really searching for love where it can't be found. There's some insecurity of I don't belong or separation, I'm not enough. And then we start fixing on things outside us that can give us a sense of belonging. So we quest in a foreign land, we leave home. And what is it for most of us? We try to go for approval to feel love. That's a big one. And I'm going to come back to that one probably more than others. But it's also wealth, and it's also sense pleasures, and it's also achievement, and it's often power, prestige. We live with if-only mind. There's a sense that love isn't here now, but if only such and such and such happens, then I'll feel that loving connection. So when we're on a quest to get what we want, there's some sense of wanting and something's missing. The very nature of a quest when we leave home is that the attention narrows. We get more fixated. And we fixate on how others are reacting to us, or on the stock market's ups and downs, or how we're planning a renovation or a vacation. And that, for the moment, becomes our substitute that's going to in some way make us feel more full and ultimately more connected and alive. And in those moments, we can't see what's here. And in the moments that we're in some way trying to get love or find what's missing or get approval, we can't see what's already here. One of the stories I've always loved is of this young man who asked God how long 1,000,000 years is to him. And God responds, 1,000,000 years to me is just like a single second in your time. Then the young man asks God what $1,000,000 is to him. God replies, $1,000,000 to me is just like a single penny to you. Okay, so then the young man gets up his courage. He says, God, could I have just one of your pennies? And God says, sure, just a second. So part of what happens when, as the younger son, we leave home, and this is before that awakening, is that we get addicted to our substitutes. And every one of us has them. Every one of us has things we think if we keep on getting more of, it'll actually make us feel more loved, more connected, happier. So we get addicted to them because they actually work a little. We temporarily get a lift in some way, and we get fixated but addicted because we keep on having to have more to keep the lift. There's not a real deep kind of satisfaction. So addiction becomes, on some level, there's different degrees, that sense of have to have. And we know when we're addicted because when we don't get it, when we don't get attention in a certain way, or when there's something that goes wrong financially, or when there's something that goes wrong on any of the levels we're attached to, we get upset. And of course, substances is a big one. We use them to change our biochemistry around. In this little reading, the way to achieve inner peace is to finish all the things you've started. So I looked around to see all the things I started and hadn't finished. So today, I finished 1 bottle of gin, a bottle of red wine, my Prozac, a large box of chocolates, a pint of Ben & Jerry's pistachio. You have no idea how good I feel. So the bottom line is that as the younger son found, when he was lost, and this is the nature of suffering, when we are going after what we think we want. And just to say that in the parable, when the son left his father's home at that time, and there's been a lot of research about this, for a son to say, I want my part of the inheritance and to leave, was the equivalent of wishing his father dead. It was a very deep denial and pushing away of his belonging. So when we turn our backs on our own hearts and belonging and go for whatever else it is that we think is going to make us happy, that there's a kind of a betrayal of ourselves. And it's very, very difficult to remember what it is we really wanted. We get lost. One more kind of light illustration is of a woman who goes to her priest and says, Father, I have a problem. I have 2 female parrots, but they only know how to say one thing. Well, what do they say? The priest inquired. Well, they say, hi, we're prostitutes. Do you want to have some fun? Ooh, that's obscene, the priest exclaimed. Then he thought for a moment, I have a solution to your problems. I have 2 male talking parrots whom I've taught to pray and read the Bible. Bring your 2 parrots to my house and we'll put them in the cage with Francis and Job. My parrots can teach your parrots to praise and worship, and your parrots are sure to stop saying that phrase in no time. Thank you, the woman responded. This may very well be the solution. So the next day she brings her female parrots to the priest's house. As he ushers her in, she sees that his 2 male parrots are inside their cage holding rosary beads and praying. Impressed, she walks over and places her parrots in with them. After a few minutes, the female parrots cry out in unison, hi, we're prostitutes. You want to have some fun? There's a stunned silence. Finally, one male parrot looks over at the other male and exclaims, put the beads away, Francis. Our prayers have been answered. So in a way, I've languaged this as false refuges, where we get fixated in one way, that it's to get something, but it's not what we're really, really looking for. And I think, I mentioned approval before. I think that one of the most pervasive ways, and it's quite natural given our upbringing and the kind of criticism we have and conditionality of, we have to meet certain standards to feel really our love, that approval seeking is very deeply ingrained in us. And if we're honest and we watch ourselves with many other people, a lot of the filter that's going on is how is what I am presenting of who I am going to be received? Will it be approved of, liked, respected, that kind of thing. So rather than a spontaneity and a naturalness, we are shaping and in some way creating or a sense of self that will conform to what we hope will be accepted. So trying to win approval, whether it's in work or spiritual life, is actually a really joyless task. In a way, the whole project keeps affirming deep down that something's wrong with us. Every time we do it, it's like the neurocircuitry. We're kind of deepening that groove of, I'm not okay, and therefore I need this. So it's one of the fixations to try to feel loved that actually keeps us more and more distant from truly letting in love and trusting in love. So the wake up that comes for all of us, and we wouldn't be here reflecting on this together if it wasn't already happening, is that we realize that the false refuges aren't really working, that there's still a sense of something's missing when we do them, and that actually the more we are pursuing our wants and not really listening to what we really long for, the more we feel a kind of emptiness and a self-betrayal and a defeat. There's a sense of feeling bad and then feeling, I am bad. And if you look closely, those two go together. When we feel bad, we then go right into I am bad. So let's just reflect for a moment. Just give you a chance to connect with this one. So we're reflecting on the younger brother. And much as Henry Nouwen did when he just started looking at his life and sensing, well, how is this part really playing out in my life? The part that feels addictive, that's seeking pleasures, selfish. It's really going for approval, leaving home. Just to take a moment to sense in your own life how this appears. This is the part that's trying to promote ourselves, trying to look good, prove ourselves, have things go our way. Achieve more, accomplish more, consume more. And as you sense how this kind of archetypal part plays out in your life, can you sense feeling a contact with that and then imagining just like the younger son with his head on his father's chest, feeling forgiven, feeling embraced, feeling blessed? In other words, can you sense this part playing through you and also sense those two hands on your shoulders that are blessing and comforting you? Can you be in touch with the wanting part of you and sense the possibility of letting in love, that love is loving you? And sometimes when I do this reflection, I imagine taking all of that energy of wanting, all the ways that my personality does it, into two hands, and as if I'm bowing my head and just offering that into the universe, letting it be held. The younger brother and asking ourselves, can I let love in? You can keep reflecting on this on your own. If you'd like to open your eyes, I want to just name a little bit about the older brother, because for Henry Nouwen, what he found is while he originally identified with the younger brother, it was the older brother that actually became much more powerfully his sense of where his identity was, and also his older brother, how the older brother played through him, that it was much harder for him to let in forgiveness and love when he felt that archetype. So let's just to check that one out. Externally, the older brother in the parable stayed home, but not internally. Internally, he was being dutiful, still insecure, and very much judging others that weren't doing it right. So the older brother is the one who has that kind of righteousness and condemning others for falling short. The older brother is the angry victim. And most of us know the victim stance. So in Buddhism, as I mentioned, the older brother is fear and aversion and comparing mind, judgment. It's that resentment or being envious of others. It's a part of us that said, I wanted to have fun and enjoy things too. Or I tried so hard, but I didn't get what I needed. So we can sense the tightness. And then part of the older brother is not liking parts of himself but projecting it on others. So it's the part of us that sees in others what's wrong, but that we're really not liking it inside ourselves. So again, the wake up for the older brother is a sense of how separate, disconnected he ends up feeling. Sense of failure. And again, it's I feel bad, I am bad. If you'd like to, just to continue reflecting inside yourself and sensing how this part also, this archetypal part of aversion and judgment and fear plays through. And see if you can be tuning in a way that doesn't add judgment, but rather with interest, curiosity. Okay, so where's this older brother in me? The judge. And if you sense where the older brother is, where you get angrier, judgmental, aversive towards others, can you imagine, this is the same question as we did with the younger son, can you imagine some divine presence whispering to you, you are with me always, all I have is yours. In other words, can you imagine love loving you? That this conditioning towards judgment and aversion, this too can be loved. You can let love in. And again, if you'd like to open your eyes, please do. So we're going to explore a little bit more for the rest of this talk how we can let love in.